Again, honorable members, before we go to it is unfortunate that the board came in a time where there are so many things that are coming up. We have also received 2 letters from 2 different lawyers that is addressed to me on behalf of the testimony that is made by Susan Daniels. It is coming from the first letter is coming from Khotsioni Pilane Tonis on behalf of Ajay Gupta. It is written like this, honorable members. I want to put it also on record so that everybody hears about this letter. We act on behalf of Mr. Ajay Gupta in his personal capacity. Your portfolio committee is currently hearing evidence into allegation of state capture. In so doing, it has recently heard evidence from Ms. Susan Daniels. In her testimony, she made a number of very serious claims and allegations involving my client, Mr. Ajay Gupta. Among the allegations that she made were the following. 3.1, she met Mr. Salim Essa at Melrose Arc on 29th July 2017. 3.2, when she met him, they proceeded to some apartments where she met Mr. Ajay Gupta, the Deputy Public Enterprise Minister, Mr. Ben Martins, and Duduzane Zuma. 3, she makes various claims as to that which she says occurred there. 4, included in claims was the allegation that there were discussions regarding legal matters related to the former Eskom CEO Brian Molefe, and specifically Mr. Ajay Gupta wanted to talk about the court hearing that is coming up in respect of Mr. Molefe. She is not only very specific as to the presence of Mr. Ajay Gupta at this meeting, but claims that he said he would have to talk to someone in the office of the Deputy Judge President in order to ensure that the hearing took place after December 2017. 6, she even describes that which Mr. Ajay Gupta was wearing. 4, I annex a photocopy of the passport of Mr. Ajay Gupta, a copy of the relevant immigration stamped page from Mr. Ajay Gupta's passport, a copy of the official recording showing that the aircraft ZSAOAK flew from Lanseria, South Africa to Bhubaneswar, India on the 22nd of July 2017 and arrived in India 23 July 2017. The aircraft returned on the 31st July 2017. 5, also annexed is a screenshot from YouTube video taken on the 29th July in India at a religious festival, clearly visibly on the video. If you care to view it by accessing the relevant YouTube address, is Mr. Ajay Gupta, who indeed attended that festival. 6, the documents evidence which we have supplied to you demonstrate that Mr. Ajay Gupta was in India from 23rd July 2017 to 31st July 2017, and that specifically on the 29th July, he attended religious celebrations in India. The claims made by Ms. Susan Daniels are clearly false, as quite obvious, Mr. Ajay Gupta could not have been in Melrose Arc, Johannesburg on the 29th July 2017 when he was in India on that day and had been there for some while by then and only returned to this country on the 31st of July 2017. The allegations made by Ms. Daniels are obviously harmful to Mr. Ajay Gupta and harmful to the country, in that she appears to suggest that no less a person than a deputy judge president could be contacted by our client in order to arrange a date for the hearing of a case involving Mr. Molefe. The interviews by your portfolio committee are broadcast nationwide and reported on by the media. Allegations made there are taken to be true not only by the media, but by the public. When they are bluntly untrue, they are recklessly distributed and the public is seriously misled. Of course, our client suffers untold harm in consequences of such wild allegations being made against him. We wish to put it on record that Mrs. Susan Daniels was under oath when she incorrectly, intentionally made the malicious claims against our client, as set out in paragraph 3 above. In this regard, we have been instructed that we report such conduct to the relevant authorities, including the South African Police Service and the Speaker of Parliament, so that the necessary investigation may be instituted against Ms. Susan Daniels, and further that the necessary criminal charges may be instituted against her. We would point out that these allegations were made without Mr. Gupta having been approached to hear his side of the story. We are confident that, armed with this information, you will do the rightful thing. Yours faithfully, dictated by Mr. Pilane and not signed, Khoitsi Pilane. That is the letter that is written by the Khoitsiona Pilane attorneys that is coming to the committee on behalf of Mr. Ajay Gupta. Can I read the second one? The second one comes from Gani Mayet attorneys. It is also addressed to me. Fundamental rights of persons potential subject to adverse findings. Honorable Chairperson, we act for Mr. Ajay Gupta. Mr. Gupta and the Gupta family have been wrongly implicated in false wrongdoing, directly or indirectly, either individually or through family or business associations. Before the inquiry for which you serve as chairperson, through testimony in many documents before you. 3, witness and documents before the inquiry wrongly implicate him and or the Gupta family falsely in relation to corporate governance failures at Eskom Holdings SOC Ltd. These matters are the subject of the current first phase of the inquiry. 3, as an example of the false allegation against Mr. Gupta and his family before the inquiry, we refer to the perjured testimony of Ms. Susan Daniels on 8 November 2017. Ms. Daniels falsely stated on oath that she met Mr. Gupta on the 29th July 2017 in Melrose Arc, and that Mr. Gupta made statements suggesting that he would seek to influence a deputy judge president in respect of the scheduling of a court hearing. No less. There, when challenged about the truth of her testimony, Ms. Daniels made a statement to the press that she stands by what she said to the inquiry. As Mr. Gupta made plain in a letter dated 15 November and sent to you as well as the Speaker of Parliament and the National Prosecuting Authority, he was not in South Africa on or about the date of the meeting alleged by Ms. Daniels. He provided to Parliament supporting evidence in the form of an exit stamp on his passport, the flight records of his aircraft, and a publicly available video showing him giving a speech at a religious festival in India on the very date he is alleged to have met Ms. Daniels. We attach a copy of this letter to ease of reference. This is but an example of the many matters on which the inquiry has received false testimony. It highlights the need for the inquirer to exercise extreme caution is sifting facts and testing allegations. It further highlights the need to provide all persons who are accused before the inquiry to be given a meaningful opportunity to refute those allegations. Documents before the inquiry further implicate him or the Gupta family in relation to corporate governance failure at Transnet SOC and Denel SOC. We understand these matters are the subject of 2 subsequent phases of the inquiry. We know that the proceeding of the inquiry are public and statements of witness and documents referred to in evidence are available to the public. The public record of the inquiry to date indicates beyond doubt that Mr. Gupta and his family are potentially subject to adverse findings witness and members of the inquiry routinely deployed terms such as Gupta-linked, Gupta-connected, and Gupta-related when referring to alleged corrupt practices. Surprisingly, despite a lapse of nearly 6 months, during which adverse but false evidence concerning his conduct has mounted before the inquiry, no invitation has been forthcoming from the inquiry for the production of information to clarify or refute the allegations. Mr. Gupta has refrained to date from public statements about the work of the inquiry or related matters concurrently before the courts. He has done so in defense to Parliament and the judiciary and to prejudice of his name and reputation and that of his family members. He has no recourse in law to protect his name and reputation because the proceedings are protected by parliamentary privilege. The inquiry has, as we stand it, been advised of the fundamental procedural rights of those who may be subject to adverse findings by the inquiry. The inquiry has also received advice to invite interested parties to, at the very least, make input in writing. Submissions should be sifted and analyzed, and if necessary, parties should then be heard orally. We note that Mr. Gupta has not been invited to make any input in writing. This does not, with respect, indicate a fair-minded treatment of the pressing issue before it, supporting the view that the inquiry has other motives than fair and honest truth-finding. Mr. Gupta denies wrongdoing in which he and his family members have been implicated before the inquiry. In order to safeguard Mr. Gupta's fundamental procedure rights from further harm and to give Mr. Gupta and his family an opportunity to provide written input to the inquiry, we call upon you to furnish us with a detailed list of questions that the inquiry may wish to put to him in writing. Please let us have this list within 10 business days of receipt of this letter. In addition, if Mr. Gupta or any member of the Gupta family is required to testify before the inquiry, we request that you provide a detailed list of questions at least 2 weeks before the hearing, and that these persons received at least 10 business days notice of the hearing. Please note further that neither Mr. Gupta nor the members of his family are available in the period between 8 December 2017 and after 15 January 2018. I don't know where the 10 days and the 7 days, where do they apply? Should you for any reason not be inclined to furnish us with the requested list of questions, we request that you notify us of this in writing and furnish your reasons for declining to do so. We wish to place on record that any attempt to conclude the business of the inquiry or to prepare any report, draft or final, without giving our clients the opportunity to provide written input would render the inquiry fundamentally unfair and would simply reinforce the perception among sectors of the public, and as we stand echoed by persons testifying before the inquiry, that the inquiry has ulterior motives other than fair and honest truth findings. Yours faithfully, electronically transmitted, Mr. Ahmed Ghani. Those are the 2 letters that we have received from the attorneys of Mr. Ajay Gupta.